gusta. Freeze. Los DJ no mienten, le gusta mi gente y eso se fue muy bien. No les bajamos, mas nunca paramos, es otro palo y blanco.
¿Y dónde está mi gente?
Me fais bouger la tête.
¿Y dónde está mi gente?
Say yeah, yeah, yeah.
1, 2, 3, Lego.
Antes yo te quería, pero ya no. Tú me gustabas, pero ya no. Yo estaba pa' ti, pero ya no. Pero ya no. Pero ya no. Conmigo ya no tienes break. Ya no quiero de tu amor fake. Ya no estoy pa' ti.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Welcome to this Biden for President campaign event, Luchadores con Biden with George Lopez. And now, please welcome Biden for President Senior Advisor, Cristóbal Alex.
Mi gente, buenas noches. It's great to be with you all tonight for this programming, a special programming of the Luchadores. As folks know, we've been doing this programming designed for Latino men to talk to other Latino men, to engage us in voting and organizing and building political power. For so long, from the beginning of history, it's been Latinas who are doing the heavy lifting in our families, in our communities. My friend Ivo Longoria calls them the CEOs of the familia. It's now up to us Latino men to hold up our end of the bargain. And so what we're going to talk about today is in the closing days of this election, what's at stake in this election for Latino men? Why we've got to get out and vote for our families, our community, and our country. And it's remarkable that we are just now a week out from the most consequential election of our lifetimes. I think of it as multi-generational, for generations to come. The decisions that we're making right now, as VP Biden has said, Latinos, you hold the power in your hand. You're poised to decide who the next president is. And what we've already seen is over 60 million people all over the country have voted, including a record number of Latinos. But it's not enough. We've got to finish strong. We've got a lot of work going into this weekend and, of course, into next week. And I want to start by bringing in the main luchador here, the anchor for all of our work in this area, George Lopez, a dear friend. George, come on in. You've been, George, in the news a lot lately. I also seen you trending on Twitter, and I wasn't quite sure what happened. And for us at the campaign, we needed to put out the bat signal to call you in, to come back into politics, because I know you've been doing a lot of other stuff lately, but we needed your help. What's been happening on Twitter? I've seen you all over the place, and why are you back at it?
Well, on Sunday night, we did a thing here at the house. We did, Ana Navarro and I co-hosted an event, a grassroots event that just said get out and vote. And Kamala Harris and her husband were there, and also live Joe Biden and Joe Biden were there. Joe Biden, sweetheart, very intellectual, a doctor. Joe was talking as well. He was answering a question I said about people who were undecided about voting, and what would you say to them if they were even undecided or even planned on maybe not even voting at all. And in the course of that conversation, he said, George, which he was referring to, I believe, try to refer to me, but he was referring to about the administration. Simple mistake. It's live. They're campaigning all these days. It's not like, he called the guy from Apple Tim Apple, or it's not like the Vato's using a stunt wife with a different nose and different teeth. So, the idea that whoever is against Biden and this campaign would be out there cluttering the social media with lies and with fake accounts and with personal attacks tell you that if anybody hasn't considered voting or is unsure about voting, the vote is more important now, because this is how hard you have to fight to be equal. These are people that don't even want you to sit at a place equal to them. They're trying to keep us away and trying to keep us out of this. And every election is about power. So God bless you for being here. Also, Luis, people that have been in the struggle for a long time. And this thing is all over the world for no other reason than just us raising $1 million at one night and trying to get the word out to vote. I have a relationship with Joe from 2008 and Kamala from 2007 back in Oakland, when she was, even before she started considering running for office, that these people are of the highest caliber, and they know what is right for this country, and the agenda that they have for the future of this country is what we should be more concerned with, and not personal attacks on social media.
Yeah, George, Thank you, man. I know you've been under attack from bots, from anything else, but also just because you're making sure that your voice is heard and standing up for what's right. And a lot of folks in this country, we realize the country is teetering on this precipice. And it's up to folks like you and the other incredible panelists and our gente, our families, to come together and make the difference in this cycle. And I want to bring in our special panel tonight. It's a really incredible group. We've got, as you mentioned, Congressman Luis Gutiérrez, a champion for immigration. He's coming to us live from Puerto Rico. He's been a champion for Boricua. He's been steadfast supporter of Joe Biden and really one of the giants in our community. We've also got Shea Serrano. Shea's amazing. We're so lucky to have you tonight, Shea. You know, you, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the first and only Mexican-American in the history of this country to get not one, not two, but 3 New York Times bestsellers, man. That is amazing. And we're just so lucky to have you. And I also want to recognize Jesus Contreras, who is a dreamer and an EMT paramedic in Houston. And Jesus, not only do you have the best hair, and he's coming to us live from a club because it's his birthday tonight. He's taking a little time out to chat with us. And I want to kick this thing off with actually a really serious topic. It's crazy that, you know, just 4 days ago, we had the last presidential debate. You know, nowadays, under the Trump administration, time is, it doesn't make sense anymore. You don't know what's Wednesday, what's Thursday, what's Tuesday. I mean, that was just 4 days ago. And what was shocking to me, one of the most shocking things in that debate was Trump's reaction and callousness towards victims of COVID. And, you know, we've had over 200,000 people who've lost their lives from COVID. Latinos are the hardest hit, right? Are 3 times as more likely to get infected, 3 times as more likely to die. Sadly, by the time election rolls around, we'll probably have lost 50,000 Latinos. And his callousness was on full display. And as Joe Biden said, it's like he wants us to get used to living with death. And we're not going to do that. And so I want to bring in George, and then I want to go to Jesus, the congressman, and then Shea to get your response on what happened there on the debate stage, but also what we need to be doing to tackle COVID with Joe Biden's plan.
Well, you know, unfortunately, a lot of us have to go to work in situations that we have no choice but other than go to work. But we still, you know, a year ago, we weren't essential workers, and now we are essential workers. So if anything, our presence and our lives in America mean more. We run the country from the ground up. So what we also have to do is not to pretend that it can't happen to us. And we have, you know, multi-generations in a house that, you know, if a young Latinx person is voting and they have a mom or an uncle or somebody that's not planning on voting, they need to discuss voting with them. They need to help them how to fill out the form if they don't want to. They have to almost, you know, make sure they go. I'll give you a ride over there, and make sure that this just doesn't pass it like another Tuesday. Also, during that debate, they talked about 20 million people losing their health care, and to Donald Trump, it meant nothing. You know, I have a friend who personally lost their life because under the Obamacare and under this situation, he could afford his medicine. But when Trump was elected a year after, the medicine got so high that he couldn't afford his own medicine, and he passed away because he couldn't afford medicine. And this can't be what we're going to look forward to, and it can't be what we can expect. It's going to be what we're going to expect the next 4 years if we don't do something and just get this administration out of the White House and out of power. And that starts from today until next Tuesday.
Congressman, let me bring you in here.
Sure. Well, look, I just want to say to Jesus and all of the brave 750,000 dreamers that signed up for DACA, thank you, because each and every day your example demonstrates to the world who we are. And when Donald Trump says Mexicans are murderers, rapists, killers, I say, look at Jesus. And look at the hundreds of thousands of other young men who weren't born and women who weren't born in this country. But look at Jesus and look at the others. I want to thank you because I know you have a huge responsibility. I know you're under threat every day from this president, but we're going to win on November 4th. And on November 4th, we're going to make sure you get a permanent status. But not only for you, Jesus, but for your mom and your dad and for your uncles and for all your familia, right? And everybody says, oh, well, immigration impacts us all. I have a grandson. He's 17 years old. His dad's from Mexico. You know what he told President Obama, Krista? You know what he told? He said when he came with DAPA and President Obama said, I'm going to protect everybody that has American citizen children. He said, thank you, Mr. President. Now my tias and tios won't be deported. Look, if the grandson of a prominent member of Congress has to worry about his tias and tios, and mano, we're all in this together. So I say, hey, let's go and vote, right? Let's vote early. Like I said, get off your ass, make a plan, vote, but vote early. And I want to end with this because I'm really proud. You know, I've been to Las Vegas. I've been to the barrios in Philadelphia. I was with my Boricuas, mostly. There was Peruvians and Ecuadorians thrown in there in Orlando, pero básicamente Boricua power out there. And I got to tell you, the level of enthusiasm, I am unprecedented. I'm just telling you, and when I talk to people, they're opening up the door, they're voting early, there are lines, but guess what, bro? We all got to make a plan, and we all get out there because we can't look at our success of today and figure that that's going to determine our success on November 3rd. Hey, I've seen this movie before, right, George? November 2016, we saw this movie before. I went to go to bed with my wife, and we sat down and we saw Hillary go from winning Florida to getting her ass whooped in Florida. I mean, I saw this movie before. Let's all get out. And I want to thank everybody else on the panel and you, sir, for allowing me, inviting me to be with you tonight.
Luis, gracias. I want to bring Jesus in because you're exactly right. I mean, not only with so much on the line, we also have to think about dreamers and immigrants. And what Joe Biden has said is this country is so much stronger because of immigrants. And that on day one, he would protect dreamers, their families. He would introduce an immigration bill on the very first day. I know, Luis, you've been working so hard at that. But there are over 200,000 dreamers that are essential workers, and over 30,000 are doing what Jesus is doing, being the real champions in healthcare and keeping us safe and keeping us alive. And so I want to bring Jesus in here to talk a little bit about what he's seeing as a paramedic in Houston. You know, Texas, my home state, has been pretty hard hit by this pandemic. Jesus, what are you seeing, and what do we need to do to get out of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, first and foremost, I think the administration is doing the most they can to make this seem like a joke. And when I think about that, I think about a call that I had just on Saturday, actually, where I had a patient that ended up having both legs amputated because he had blood clots after having COVID-19. And to me, to the people that are out here working with sick COVID patients, it's not a joke. It's a serious pandemic, and it's happening here. And I think the crazy Trump supporters that are out there, or the Trump supporters that are out there just following this man, think that it's a joke, and it's not. And I hope that we and the Biden campaign can help change that narrative and change the future of our country and make it a little bit more understandable that COVID is a serious threat to this country. As a DACA recipient, you know, I am bound to my community. I'm part of this country, and I hope to be able to continue to do that by having DACA or having a pathway to citizenship. Not only the 750,000 DACA recipients, but there's TPS, there's DED, and there's the 11 million undocumented that need some sort of solution so that they can all become as productive as us DACA recipients. The numbers show that we help this country in every single way that you can think of. Not only that, but we have families here, we have businesses here, and we're here to stay. We're here to help this country push forward and see 2021 to be one of the best years yet. I only hope to continue to be able to do that with the work that I do. I'm privileged and thankful, you know, to have life, to have health, and to have a legal way to be able to work. And I'm hopeful that the Biden campaign can triumph that and push Congress to pass permanent legislative solutions at the end of the day. But we have to, as undocumented folks realize that we have a duty to push those that are documented and that do have voting rights to vote for us, to vote for the voiceless, to vote for those people that cannot vote. You know, simply because I can't vote does not mean I don't have a role in this election. And I encourage all the Latino men out there that are undocumented that you have to push your family members, your girlfriend, boyfriend, friends at school, everybody that you know that can vote to vote for you, and let them know that you don't have a voice and that their voice is yours.
Thank you, Jesus. You are such an inspiration. And again, you're here on your birthday, taking time away from your family to be with us, talking to voters. We so appreciate it. I want to bring Shea in here. And, you know, Shea, I've been just watching you for years now. And I know one of the things that you're most focused on in your writing, which is beautiful, is looking at pop culture and movies. And I was talking to my friend Adrian Sainz not long ago about one of your books. And it reminded us again of what we saw in this debate the other day when Donald Trump said, you know, we're learning to live with this virus. And the vice president said, you know, that's unacceptable. What you're really saying is we're learning to die with it. And we just can't have that. And it reminded us about Rocky IV. Remember when Ivan Drago, the Russian, is in that fight and then he knocks down Apollo. Eventually Apollo dies, but he's like, he's in the interview and he's like, if he dies, he dies. I'm terrible with accents. It's like my same accent for everything, but it's like, if he dies, he dies. It's that same callousness that is shocking that we saw, you know, on display. But I wonder if you can talk a little bit about kind of your impression of that, what again, that we need to be doing as a community in the middle of this pandemic to come out of this thing, and tying it to pop culture and media the way you have.
I think first, let me say that I think you should have gone to me first, because I sound like an idiot now after listening to George and Luis and Jesus like very eloquently talk about some important things, and you're like, oh, Shea, we should talk about Rocky IV. No, listen. When I was watching the debate, I think I felt what a lot of us in these like our private text groups or emails or like this conference have felt. Like you hear him talk about the way that this stuff is affecting lives, and he does so in a way that very clearly makes it seem like he doesn't care about any of this. And this is stuff that is affecting us directly. My sister is like, she's going to work every day. I have 3 younger sisters. They all have to go to work today. My nieces have to go to school in a place that doesn't feel safe. And he's just saying this shit like it's nothing, like it's fine. And it can't be that. So you hear him say that and you just instantly you get angry. Just he's doing his stupid hands like this and his face is all wrinkled up and like talking in that way that he talks, and you're just getting more and more angry. And then there's like a moment after that where you're like, oh, he's panicking right now. He's panicking right now. And then the results are coming out, the polls are coming out, and they're like, oh, Texas is in play all of a sudden. Like I think he can feel what's happening. He's like grasping at whatever he can. So there's like this weird mix of anger and also this mix of like, you're keeping it at arm's length, like Luis said, the optimism, because we've watched this play out before, but you can like kind of see and like, I think we can get there. I hope we can. And like everybody else here is saying, you got to push all of your people to vote, unless you're going to vote for him, and then fucking take them to Sonic and let them push the button to order food and place their vote there.
Well, so, you know, I want to come back to George. So you just mentioned Texas being in play, and, you know, as a Tejano, and I know we've got, you know, half of all Latinos live in Texas and in California. The rest are spread to the other parts of the country. In my wildest dreams, I didn't see Texas being in play. We, as a campaign, because of who our candidate Joe Biden is, he's put together this deep and broad coalition of voters, Latinos, African Americans, older voters, younger voters, AAPI voters, working class voters, white voters, college voters, women voters in record numbers. And so because of that strong coalition, we are competing in 17 battleground states. I never thought at this stage of the campaign, a week out, we'd be in 17 battleground states. We got this guy on the run, and we're pushing, even into Texas. And I know, George, you're extremely popular in Texas, really kind of across the board all over the country. But what is your message Latinos in my home state of Texas. And then I want to ask Luis for his message to voters in places like Florida and in Pennsylvania, where I know he's extremely popular.
You know, somebody told me last week, no one is coming to save us. There's no program that this administration is going to create that's going to help Latinos. No paramedic is going to show up. No doctor is going to show up. We're going to die of COVID. We're going to die from pneumonia. We're going to die from high blood pressure. We're going to get our legs amputated when someone else would have the proper health care to avoid that from happening. No, we're not getting the best education, and we're not being treated the best, even with decency and just respect as any other fellow human being. For every American as a human being. No one is coming to save us. So if we don't save ourselves, then we only have ourselves to blame. And Luis, God bless you too, Shea, everybody. Jesus, all of the things that are so hard, all the people in Texas, all the people in Arizona, all the people in El Paso and in Hidalgo and Brownsville that get up every day in the morning. The sun's not even up. You're halfway through one job and the sun's coming up. That God bless you and God bless your hard work. And right now is the time, si no tienen la voz, that will be the voice of the people who don't have the voice. My grandmother said to me from the time I was 18, go vote, let's go vote. She died in 2009. I'm voting in her honor this election. But I'm going to tell you, nobody's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. Yeah.
That's right. Gracias. Congressman, speaking of saving ourselves, I still can't get over the fact that Trump abandoned Puerto Rico in its greatest time of need after Hurricane Maria hit. And I know you moved back to the island to help out. You're doing so much there, but it's shocking to me that American citizens would be treated as second-class citizens. Joe Biden said there's no room in this country for second-class citizens. That idea has to be thrown out the window. When he's elected, he's going to make sure that Puerto Rico is treated equally and it has what it needs to get up on its feet. Talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing there on the island and what we need to do in Florida and Pennsylvania and other places to turn out Baricuan to build power.
Well, we're turning them out, Cristóbal. So what we're doing is we're making phone calls from Puerto Rico, right? To our aunts, our uncles, our cousins, our loved ones in Orlando, in Philadelphia. And we're telling them, mira hermano, vote. The schools are destroyed here because of the earthquakes. There are people who still don't have a roof after Hurricane Maria because this president has treated us with such cruelty and inhumanity. He has never treated the people of Puerto Rico well. And so we're calling them and we're saying, we can't vote here, but you can. And you can make a difference. There are now 1 million Puerto Ricans in Florida. The single largest Latino ethnic group in Florida are today Puerto Ricans. And we're telling them, vote to help the island. We're doing the same thing as I told you. I was in Pennsylvania. And so I get a little emotional because so many thousands of people have died unnecessarily. You know, you see Trump with COVID, just watch Trump with Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. It's the same play, right? He just turns his back and he doesn't do his job and he's cruel. So we're doing that. And I just want to say to everybody, I'm going to say something. We're going blue in Arizona. And you know who's going to lead the march? It's going to be immigrants and Mexican immigrants. And I want to just do a shout out to one Arizona that's doing so much hard work, helping people during the last 4 years become citizens and registering to vote. And Unite Here, the hotel and restaurant workers, they're out there, George, knocking on doors. They keep saying, oh, only the Republicans knock on doors. That's because nobody covers us, Cristóbal. Nobody ever really tells our story. I turn on CNN and MSNBC and I'm sorry, I don't see us. And I don't see anybody portraying us and telling our story. And so all I want to tell everybody is like what George said, nobody's coming for us, but guess what, George? I see us taking the reins, man, and making sure. I'm so proud of my people because they're not taking this. I want to say that. And lastly, I just want to say what this means in particular, I think, to Latinos, right? So my grandson, I talked to him about, and so Luis, I told him, I said, Luis, you know, tell me about how you feel, who you are. And he was really I was so proud of him. And he said, Grandpa, I let him call me Grandpa. He don't have to call me abuelo or nothing like that. He can call me whatever he wants. He said, Grandpa, and he's very, you know, he said, Grandpa, and this one, I'm super Puerto Rican. I said, oh, that's good. All right. Then he said, this one, I'm super Mexican, right? This kid's proud of his heritage, of where his grandparents came from. 2 of them came from Mexico, 2 of them came from Puerto Rico. He's proud of that. And then he took both his hands and he put them over his chest. And he says, Grandpa, but right here, I'm 100% American. And I said, wow, man, it's amazing what an 11-year-old kid can teach you, right? All I'm saying, everybody, that's what's at risk. Luisito's and every other little Latina and Latino's right to be an American and to be treated equally in this country. That's what's at risk. I'm gonna stand up for my grandson. I'm gonna stand up for every little Luisa and every little Luisito in this country. That's what we gotta work on November 3rd.
Thank you, Congressman. That's exactly right. That's what's on the ballot. That's what's at stake in this election. And I appreciate that you talked about Latino or Hispanic portrayal in the media, or lack thereof. And I know, Shea, it's something that you've been thinking a lot about. I can't remember which of your best-selling books it was, but you talked a little bit about Fast and Furious. And I think kind of the way I looked at that was how, in some ways, that was a sense of family and a sense of belonging that the characters in Fast and Furious were building. Talk to us a little bit about kind of our portrayal in the media and what you've taken from that and in these movies, and why, you know, Fast and Furious stood out for you, and what that means for our gente in terms of building our own community.
The portrayal has either, for the most part, been invisible or largely negative. We're seeing a slow transition away from that. That's part of the reason that you mentioned the Fast and the Furious movies always were just like a cool thing to me, because you saw a bunch of people all mixed together, and none of the stories were like, oh, this is the movie where Letty overcomes all of the like barriers against being a Latina in America. It was never that. She just got to like drive her car and do her thing. Same with Dominic Toretto or anybody else. But again, more and more we're seeing positive portrayals. George was in a movie called El Chicano, which was like the first real big screen portrayal of a superhero that we got. We're getting more and more like that. But then, you know, you also get stuff like the latest Rambo that came out, and it was just like, oh, let's just have Rambo go fight a bunch of cartel members, and like all the MAGA people go crazy for it. You know what I'm saying? So it's slowly getting better, but again, it's not enough. It's never enough. Hopefully it just continues to increase in a positive direction.
The mule was Gacho too, man. The mule was horrible, man.
Yeah, with Clint Eastwood.
I mean, I know Clint Eastwood. The mule was like, I look at that, it's like it's an embarrassment, man. I mean, listen, when I started doing my show, there was no show but that had a family like that. And when they wanted to make the different characters, Latinos that were maybe a bad babysitter or a teacher that wasn't very good, we made, if you look at that show, man, I made everybody of every color. And I didn't look necessarily to make anybody else a bad person. I just had it reflect the way that the country reflects. And then it's still on. It's been on since 2002. And they didn't think that thing was going to get past 4 episodes. So, you know, they underestimate us from the beginning. Yeah, and we still can turn out to be great.
Yeah, there are a lot of new shows like that, like Gentified on Netflix, which is really, really good. One Day at a Time, which is really, really good. Vida on, I think that's on Showtime. Really, really, like, there's smart shows being made, and they just keep on sneaking by. Like One Day at a Time is in season 4. Gentified just got renewed for season 2. We're watching the stuff. We like want to see the stuff. We want to see. Everybody loved Coco. Make more of those. Like, we don't always need to be criminals and gang members. Like, just let us be.
Yeah, my 2.5-year-old, I made the mistake of giving her extra screen time because, you know, we're in this pandemic. So what are you going to do when you're working? She loves Coco. Can't stop singing the songs. But we need to be making movies about folks like Jesus Contreras. I mean, if you can put a plug in there, Shea, with some of your fancy, and George, some of your producer friends, I think that would be a great portrayal. I do want to bring it back to you, Jesus, for a minute, because this other thing that sticks out for me from last week was the number 545. That came up in the debate, you'll remember, because there was a story that broke that said, to this day, 3 years after they were forcibly separated by our government, these kids that were separated from their mom's arms and dad's arms at the border are without their mom and dads today, because this terrible government, this Trump administration, has failed them and hasn't found their families. They've basically been orphaned, 545. And Trump's response was something like, they're treated well. How can you be treated well? Like, the worst thing that could ever happen in my mind is losing your family. it's absolutely crazy. And as Joe Biden said, it's criminal. Jesus, you came, obviously your family's immigrants, you come over. Talk to us a little bit about what we need to do around immigration, about family unification. Luis, I want you to get in here too, as a huge champion and proponent of immigration reform.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very sad truth that today we still have families that are separated. We have very young kids, that don't have any toys to play with, that don't know a dad or a mom. They don't know a native language, culture. All they know is fences and those aluminum blankets that they have. It's a really, really, really sad thing. And what's crazy is that, I don't have any kids, but there are thousands of DACA recipients, TPS holders that do have kids and they have families. Some of these TPS holders are in their 30s and 40s. And for some of them, losing status and being deported would mean that their families are going to suffer the same consequence, which is being deported, being detained for weeks, months, and years at a time. This is why we need protections, not only for us, but all 11 million undocumented. Coming to the United States at the very young age of 6, all I can remember is just waking up and my mom throwing me on a Greyhound bus and coming to the United States. And had I at the time been separated from my mom and put in a jail cell, I have no idea what would have been of my life. A lot of these kids are going to grow up with mental health disorders, with depression, suicidal ideations. Mental health problems are such a big part of this country as it is. The last thing that we need to do is make young kids go through more traumatizing events that could lead them to commit suicide or lead them to have long-lasting health effects, And we don't even have access to these kids or to help them. That is the sad part, The president says that they're being taken care of. And day after day, we see that kids are getting molested. We see that kids are getting extremely sick and dying. And on the healthcare front, there is no way you can socially separate, people in cells and in cages. We've seen, not just the kids, but the adults. A lot of the immigrants that are detained, they end up going to sometimes state prisons and jails, and they are put in with the general population. So we see already that, jails and prisons are high in COVID exposure. And so we have these innocent immigrants that all they did was try to, bring a better future to their family, that are now sharing prison cells with murders and people that could potentially expose them to COVID and potentially hurt them, And so we need to start by thinking about our families, whether you're Democrat or Republican. Just look around, think about your family, your kids, your nephews, nieces, grandchildren. Would you want them to be in a cage? Would you want them to be alone, cold, and confused, and grow up not knowing a family or knowing that they're loved and cared for? That's all I got to say to those people out there that are on the fence of voting for Biden or Trump. Just think about the kids. Think about the impact that you could have on their future if you just vote for Biden, somebody who is willing to give us protections that we need for those kids.
So I just want to say, we've all listened to Jesus tonight, and tell me he doesn't sound like my son. Tell me he doesn't sound like someone who was born in the United States of America. Tell me in every essence, he isn't one of us. He is. Yet this president wants to deport him. Why would you want to deport a paramedic who came here as a child and learned our language, our culture, everything, and has embraced us? Number one. And number two, look, during World War II, when the Nazis were murdering Jews, we did not let the children in. We let English children in that were orphans, but we would not let Jewish children in during World War II, a sin on us. That's the way we treated. But then 20,000 Cuban children in Operation Peter Pan. Remember, 1961, 62? They put them on airplanes, 20,000 of them, and they safely arrived in Miami and were integrated into their families. That's another version of America and how it treats its immigrants. And now we go back to the cruelty of putting them in cages, right? And brutalizing. And you know, some of them died. I know we're talking about the ones that were kidnapped and the ones that survived the kidnapping and today are orphaned. Some of them died. Why do we always have to have winners and losers when it comes to our immigration policy? You know, Biden is going to bring comprehensive immigration reform. He's going to stop all deportations the first 100 days until we settle this and we get this stuff straight. But he's going to bring about comprehensive immigration reform. So I just want to say to everybody, look, and the last thing I do want to say, because I know all the brothers and sisters out there, this ain't a fight between Black and Latino people, okay? And that's what the disinformation that they're putting out there, the Russians, especially in Florida, pitting us one against. There's a lot of people out there on a lot of sites that George just talked about. They're fake, but they're vicious and they're ruthless, and they're trying to pit it. And I'm going to tell you why. I was born in 1953. Separate but equal was the law of the land. That was the law. It was illegal to discriminate. And Black people gave up their lives in the civil rights movement to pass a civil rights law, to pass a voting rights law. You know why I got to Congress? You know why most Latinos are elected? Because we used the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to sue in courts. Go check the record across this country. We have a great debt to the Black community in terms of where we're at today. And guess what? Let's stand up, right? For them. I always knew Black Lives Matter because they have played a fundamental, critical role in allowing me to be who I am. I was just some little Puerto Rican kid in 1953 in Chicago. I got to go to the Congress of the United States. Wow, man. Nobody thought I was going to Congress in 1953. Want to know why? Because Black people hadn't given up their lives yet for a Voting Rights Act and a Civil Rights Act so that one day this little kid, right, from Chicago could go be a member of Congress. So, you know, I'll tell you, we're all in it together. Watch those creepy people on the internet sending and trying to divide us. We're in this together.
You know what, man? That dude, that dude's a hero. Luis is a hero.
Thank you.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, Luis, we look up to you. We stand on your shoulders, brother. And
You're
so
a hero,
many
dude. You are.
before you. Yeah.
It's just Martin Luther King
I don't have a
died.
son, but I would be proud to have you be my son. So that's all. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. They died. And we're all in it together.
That's right. And they did. And, you know, we had for so long, we looked at these voting rights as bedrock rights. But look at what's happened to them. They've been under attack. People lost their lives so that we could vote, so that we could have folks like Luis representing us and have representation and have equal rights. And now all of that's at risk. That's on the ballot too. If you look back at what the Republicans have done and what they're trying to do now, again, by stealing the election. But the way to stop them from doing that is voting in record numbers. We've got to make sure all of us turn out. We've got to flood the zone and make sure that we overwhelm them with our vote so that we can restore the Voting Rights Act to where it was, so that we can continue to elect incredible people like Luis and others, so that we can pass immigration reform, so that Jesus and others are together and they're here. And they're already American in so many ways. As they are American, as Joe Biden said, we just got to get them that citizenship. And then, of course, reuniting these families, which is the cornerstone of Joe Biden's immigration policies, uniting the families. And I know we did talk just briefly here about disinformation, and there's so much BS out there right now with what the right and what other nefarious actors are trying to do is to confuse our voters, to suppress the vote and bring down the vote. There's also the positive stuff that we've seen happen on Twitter. And I look to Shea as another great example of this. Shea, you wouldn't believe this. So there's an incredible rising star, well, an all-star that I work with named Sara Galvez. She runs all of our big digital organic programming stuff I don't even understand. But one of the people who helped make this possible tonight, and she said, you wouldn't believe this. She's like, oh, I'm a huge fan of Shea. She's like, when the pandemic hit, my mom, talking in her voice now, she said to her mom, is a daycare provider, and they had to shut down the business because kids weren't going to daycare anymore because of the pandemic. And so she lost her income. And you, Shea, put out a tweet. You tweeted that people needed to do a GoFundMe for her or Venmo for her, and she was able to recoup some of those losses. And that's just like one example, Shea, of some of the stuff that you've done to help out our gente that are hurting in this pandemic. And obviously, we need to get Joe Biden elected so we can rebuild the economy once he stops this pandemic. We rebuild the economy, everybody comes along. But Shea, talk a little bit about what inspired you to do that kind of stuff to help out our gente, people like Sara's mom. And then I want to hear from George too about, as a business owner, kind of what we need to be doing, what you're seeing, because our folks are hurting right now economically as well as from this health crisis.
That's probably a two-part answer. Number one is I'm just going to echo what George said earlier. I'm old enough now to know that there's nobody who's going to show up and fix these things for us. If we're not going to do them, then who else is going to do them? So that's part of it. And then also, there's been a shift in my lifetime. I've seen, Luis talked a little bit about this earlier, where there's I can remember being a kid in South San Antonio growing up, and you didn't want to be seen as somebody who was too Mexican. You wanted to be enough Mexican, but also the goal was to be white, is what it felt like. And as I've gotten older, you start to realize how backwards that is of thinking, and it starts to feel like this empowering thing. And then social media shows up and you realize you have direct access to all of this. And then you can parallel that with the shift that's happened in politics. We go back 30 or 40 years, the chant was "Si se puede." And it was letting you know, hey, you can do this too. And then now the chant is hey, it's on us. It's our responsibility. We have to show up to this fight, because if we don't, nobody else is going to do that. So that's a big part of the reason that anytime this stuff happens, it's easy for me to just send some tweets and hopefully make some stuff happen. You just want to be as proactive as possible with all of this stuff, even if it feels like it's a little thing. That the stuff you're talking about with the pandemic and raising money on Twitter or whatever, I think at this point we have donated somewhere around $275,000, $280,000 of just straight cash to people. And it was never big donations from people. It was always somebody would send in $5 or $3 or $2, and that shit adds up real quick. But again, it's just a matter of being proactive and trying to help out in whatever little way you can, because it all equals up to a really big thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks again for doing that and representing our community and helping out in all the ways that you have everybody on this panel. What I want to do here as we get ready to wrap up is I want to take a minute, and I'm going to go starting with you, Luis. Then I want Jesus to jump in, and then Shea. Then we're going to close with George. I want you to make your closing argument, 30 seconds, to your fellow Latinos. What's at stake and why we've got to get out and vote. We only have a couple days left. Everything is on the line right now that you've heard tonight, but I wanted to give you the final word. Let's go ahead, Congressman, and start with you.
Sure. There's a lack of equality in America, too, on the basis of gender. Women are not treated equally to men. And then I want to tell you, I want you to think about November 3rd. And I want you to think about those women in the onion fields in Texas, or picking apples out in Oregon or Washington, or grapes in California. I want you to think about those women. I want you to think how vulnerable they are to exploitation. All kinds of exploitation. They're vulnerable. They can't call 911. They can't call the police. They can't call anybody to protect them. Those Latina immigrant women are out there putting food in our grocery stores, and we're not protecting them. So if you can't find any other reason to compel you to go vote, carajo, por esas mujeres, they go out every day and do that hard, backbreaking work and are so vulnerable to exploitation, and they are. I've spoken to them across this country. So I say go vote so that Biden can give them a work permit, secure them in America, and they can dial 911, and we can put those people that have exploited them and abused them in jail where they deserve to be.
Thank you, Luis. Jesus, turning to you next.
Yes, I would just say, think about your family and friends, your neighbors. Somebody that you work with could be a DACA recipient. Your doctor could be a DACA recipient. You know, a business owner down the road that you visit every day could be an immigrant, undocumented. I would just ask all of those people out there that are on the fence about voting or haven't voted yet, vote for us, vote for the voiceless, make America something that we can enjoy again.
Gracias, Jesus, and happy birthday again, brother. I'm so glad that you're with us. Sorry to steal you away from your loved ones, but you're doing the Lord's work here with us tonight. And I want to go next to Shea. Shea, your message, por favor.
My message would be, since Jesus and Luis were talking about the social aspect of it and the people who are maybe considering not voting at all, I will address the people who are still uncertain about if they want to vote for Trump or Biden, but they know they're going to vote for somebody. We've seen what it looks like when Trump is in charge. We've seen what these past 4 years it looked like. None of us are in a better spot. I've not seen my family in 7 months. I've not been in a movie theater or a restaurant in 7 or 8 months because of the decisions that he has made and his administration has made. There are children who are separated from their family, where they're going to suffer irrevocable damage for the rest of their life because of the decisions that he has made. So even if you are not 100% on board with Biden and Harris and their campaign, it can't be the other thing anymore. It just can't. The price cannot be what it is anymore. It has to be something different.
Thank you, Shea. We're going to turn to George, and we've got one more special guest after you, George. But George, let me just say, gracias. You've been anchoring these conversations. You've been a champion for years and years for our gente, low riding around the country, putting a smile on her face, but fighting for us too. What's your closing message?
You know, there's too many people living in fear. There's too many people who, if there's even a rumor that there's going to be an ICE raid, there's rumor that immigration is going to show up, they just stop going to work. They disappear. They go into hiding. Nobody should live in this country in hiding. Nobody should be afraid to go to work. And also, we need to raise the minimum wage, because keeping people living under the poverty line is how you keep control of people. There's no way that they can get the proper medical benefits. There's no way they can live properly. There's no way they can enjoy the value of living in America if you're living under the poverty level. So get out and vote. Let's raise that minimum wage, and let's just change this cloud that's over this country that doesn't belong here.
Gracias, George. You absolutely nailed it. To close this out, last but not least, we're going to go to Florida to bring on my friend Kevin Munoz, who's our Florida press secretary over there, to tell us what we can do here in the final days. Kevin, to you.
All right. Thank you, Cristóbal. Gracias, everybody. This is great conversation. We're a week out here in Florida, across the nation, and we can really make the difference here. Latinos here in Florida are going to make the difference. And, you know, what this comes down to is who has your back? Who is, you know, going to pretend to sell the island of Puerto Rico for Greenland? Who's going to deport people that are fleeing communist regimes? Who's going to fight to take away your healthcare? And who has a real plan and believes in our community? It's Joe Biden. The choice is so clear, but we all have to vote. And, you know, a lot of you are tuning in tonight because you have that plan. You know what's at stake, but tell your friends, tell your family, make sure that they have a plan. You can early vote right now. Florida is going to be the difference. And the last thing that we all got to do, we got to step up. We got 1 week. Everybody go to mobilize.us/FL2020victory. Mobilize.us/FL2020victory. This is a place we're gonna phone bank, we're gonna text bank, we're gonna do it in Spanish, we're gonna do it in English, we're gonna do it over WhatsApp, but we're gonna have to do it. We gotta hustle in this last week, and that's it. Thanks, guys.
Ya no te extraño, me dueles a rato.
We have to build a wall.
Es diferente.
It's like an invasion.
Y justamente.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
Y si hablamos,
when somebody's the president, the authority is total.
La tuya creo que ha sido la más fuerte.
We have it totally under control.
A tal grado
This is going to go away without a vaccine.
que quedé casi al borde de la muerte. Pero en paz sin ti.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.